We're hot. Let's fucking do this.
Hot. Finally, man.
I'm super excited.
I'm so excited. This is my first podcast as a guest ever.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so thank you for having me.
I'm so happy that it's my show that you're the first guest.
Yeah, dude. You're my favorite boss I've ever had.
Oh, thank you.
Out of the three
Please tell me more.
Yeah, right? No. I mean, you and I just connected from the start.
Yeah.
Man, as soon as I walked into Sycamore.
Oh, it's easy because I'm a giant fucking child.
Right? Well, same here. Literally, I was when we met. So it was like, now, I'm 18, moving to New York next week. I'm glad I could make the time to do this.
I'm so excited because this is one of the main reasons why I want to join the show. And some people are going to be like, why do you have an 18-year-old kid on the show? I'm like, dude, this kid is the real deal. You've been doing comedy since you were 13?
14.
Since you were 14. Yeah. And there's a couple of different things I want to talk to you about. One, your background, comedy, your aspirations to where you want to go, because I do think that you definitely have talent there.
Thank you.
But also, the world is in such a weird place right now, and you're the generation that's kind of smack dab in the middle of it. Like, you lost your senior year, you're now headed to college in New York, and COVID's still going on. So I want to touch on all those things and see your perspective on it, and kind of,
for sure.
I want to know more, because I have nephews that are your age. I have another nephew and niece that are a little bit older than you. But, they're in it and they're affected, but they're not really telling me. And maybe because I'm their uncle, they're not want to open up. But, I mean, we're friends, so it's easier for you to do that than it is for
This
them.
is a conversation. This isn't like, you're not going to, it's not it's questioning me, but at the same time, we're just talking, man.
Right, I'm not going to get mad at you. Right?
Yeah.
And not that I'm going to get mad at them.
Well,
they're
and
good
if you
kids.
do, I can always walk right out the door.
All right, let's start with your, how'd you get started in comedy? Or, you know what, let's back before that. What did you see a movie or a television show or something that was like, oh wow, there's a comedian that's interesting? Like, where did this actually start?
I love the story I have. No, I've never got to tell this story, so I'm really excited. I was 13 years old. I was homesick from school, and I was on Netflix just cruising, and I saw this guy, and his name was John Mulaney, and I had no idea who he was, but I was really excited because I clicked on it. I'd seen stand-up because I was raised watching Johnny Carson. But this was the first time that, I watched an actual stand-up. And within 5 minutes of watching his first special, my dad walked in and he goes, "What are you watching?" And I said, "Stand-up." And he goes, "Oh," I go, "This is what I'm doing. Like, I don't care how long it takes me, when I'm going to start. This is what I'm doing with my life." And like, from that instant, as a 13-year-old, I knew I wanted to be a stand-up because of this guy, John Mulaney. And he wasn't big at the time. And then he's blown up now.
No, absolutely.
So it's like, I kind of got to watch him grow as a comic, as a personality, as I'm kind of becoming my own personality.
Was this before or after he had that short sitcom, the short-lived sitcom?
It was actually right during it, because my dad then took me into the other room and said, "Here, let's watch Mulaney." Gotcha. And I actually loved it. A lot of people didn't, but I thought it was really good just because it was the first time I saw someone that really influenced me like that to do something.
I really like Mulaney. The thing about Mulaney is, like, if I'm flipping through the channels and Mulaney's on, I'll watch Mulaney.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll never be like, oh, let me go put on a John Mulaney special.
Right.
And it sounds fucked up, but it's...
No, it makes sense. I mean, Mulaney's the type of guy that I show all my friends to.
Right.
But I know him so well now that I can't go watch him because, like, do a special, because I know the jokes at this point that, like, I can recite them. I could get on stage and do his hour right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to meet him?
I've seen him do stand-up 3 times. I've never met him. I've seen him walk by me, but no, I haven't. I'm trying to meet him. He lives in New York, so I'm trying to hook something up.
Right.
So, if I just run into him, I'll say hi. But if not, I believe that I'm good enough as a comic that I will one day get to a point where we can sit at a table together as comedians and talk.
That's one thing that's so incredibly awesome, is that time is on your side. Usually within comedy, it takes sometimes 10, even 20 years to find your voice.
Yeah. And
for you, that's a walk in the park. You'll be my age when you're hitting your prime.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because I think when I started, I didn't have a perspective. Now I'm kind of finding my voice, but it was just about being able to tell jokes and get on stage the first 3-4 years. Now I feel like, and you've seen me the last probably year, I think now I'm finally finding a voice, which is being an 18-year-old I consider myself a 65-year-old man in an 18-year-old's body.
I totally see that.
Just because when I was at a party before COVID started, and everybody was drinking, White Claws and shitty vodka and like pink drinks. I brought my own Jack Daniels. Like, I brought my own whiskey to a party and just sipped on it. And
That's
I had
not bad.
glasses.
If you said, like, oh, I bought a Tom Collins or a fucking Babe Ruth, then I'd make fun of you.
Yeah, right? No.
But Jack's not bad.
I brought my own Jack, and it was because it was all I could afford. I go for Johnny Walker if I could,
right.
but which sounds so douchey, by the way. But
no, it doesn't. Not at all. You drink what you like.
But it's like, I went into the house, I found a single large ice cube, put it in a glass, and drank whiskey while everybody was getting hammered off of, shitty drinks, like White Claws and stuff. So it was like, I've always had that older personality, and now I think I'm becoming a voice where I can talk to 60-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 40-year-olds, all the way down to even 15-year-olds.
That's something I'm definitely going to agree with. Knowing you for this short amount of time, but having spent as much time with you as I have, I definitely see the difference between speaking with you and then speaking with someone else who was that age. And you're leaps and bounds ahead of them, verbally, and then, the vernacular that you use and just how you present yourself. It's more of a professional introduction when you introduce yourself to somebody else.
Thank you.
It's not like, I don't want to say it and sound like a dick, but, most 18-year-olds just aren't there. And maybe it's because the social aspect of life has changed within the last 20 years. Picking up a phone and calling someone is not something that's really done anymore. And meeting people and shaking hands and eye contact, I see it being almost a hurdle for a lot of younger people. And that's not something that you had to overcome, or at least that's not something that I've seen.
Well, it's like, I went to my friend's house before he left for college like 3 weeks ago, and to say goodbye, and I rang on his doorbell. He opened the door and he goes, "Why'd you ring the doorbell?" I was like, "I was telling you I'm here." He goes, "Just text me."
Right.
I'm like, but you won't see it immediately. Like, I'm going to let you know by ringing a noise that you hear wherever you are in the house. He's like, "Nah, man, just text me." So it's like one of those things where it's like, why, like, I don't know. It's just weird because I like calling people,
Right.
I'll leave a voicemail. I'm not afraid to leave a voicemail. I'm not afraid to call anybody. But texting on Snapchat is actually how everything's done now.
Yeah.
Which is like, come on, guys. Let's figure something out. Let's call people. Pick up a phone and talk, No,
that's going to help you go, far, because most of the people that you're going to deal with at your level right now are going to be a little bit older than you, and they'll prefer that type of communication.
Yeah, and the good thing is, as I get better at comedy, they say it takes 10 years, so I'll be 24 in my 10 year. So I think the good thing there is I'll have had 10 years to get good when everybody's starting out.
Right.
So there's kind of the advantage I have where even if I'm not like the funniest, I'll have an edge where I'll have 10 years over most people.
Exactly.
Tell
me about the first time you performed on stage.
So, okay, it was at Ha Ha Cafe in North Hollywood, and I was 14. I walked in. I was doing an open mic. I could go in, and then I had to walk right out just because I was 14. And I thought I destroyed in front of, the 3 people in there.
Right.
I went back and watched it 2 weeks ago. I did so bad. I bombed so hard. My opening joke was, I'm Jewish, and a lot of my friends think I'm a clown because I do stand-up. And I go, "No, I'm a comedian." And they go, "No, you're a clown." And I go, "The only difference is that a clown wears a big red nose. I just have a big nose."
That's not bad for a 14-year-old.
I mean, for a 14-year-old, I was like, "Hey, I'm Chapelle." But, going back, I was like, if I were to do that now, I would be so upset. I would say to myself, all right, it's time to pack it up.
But you know what, though? There's, especially at Sycamore, there's some comedians that was their fucking ace.
That was their, like, Netflix give me a special.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it was, but, it was one of those things where I got on stage and just immediately knew I loved it. And it was weird because I was 14, and nobody at 14 knows what they want to do. And if you do, it changes in 5 months.
Right.
So it's like the fact that I'm still doing it is what's so amazing to me, and I still love it more every day.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal to hear.
Yeah.
Especially, like, I understand where you're coming from. That's how I was with martial arts. And
oh, yeah.
I get it. So the fact that you're doing it and you're pushing and you're seeking to get better is going to put you leaps and bounds ahead of so many people.
Thank you.
So you started when you were 14. You went on stage. What have you been doing the last 4 years to kind of get to this next level? I know you have some connections, and I don't want to talk about that because that's not really what this is, but you have some connections, and you've been able to finagle yourself within a lot of these places around here.
So I use my connections more to help me get into the door, not necessarily. I'm a big believer that if you have the connection, use it.
Right.
That only opens the door. You got to walk in. So, which sounds so cliche, but that's kind of what's true. So, I mean, I just do stand-up as much as possible, much as I could. And I think over time, I just got better at joke writing, and I watched more comedy. And not necessarily current guys. I did, but I watched a lot of old guys.
Right.
I've watched Johnny Carson. I watch it pretty much every week, just the reruns of the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, old Seinfeld, old, Lenny Bruce, those guys, which is such a difference in comics. But, from Bruce to Seinfeld, I'm influenced by those guys the most. From, the 60s to the 90s.
If you were on an island, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were strapped on an island and you had one album to listen to, whose would it be?
Ooh, if I had one album to listen to, that's really good. It's gonna sound weird, but I think Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner, the 2,000-year-old man.
Oh wow!
Which was an old character that the two of them used to do, and I just think that's the pinnacle of comedy. I think the comic and the setup man, a dynamic duo like that, is so pure and so good. And the way that Mel Brooks is, I think, one of the greatest comedic, writers of all time.
Absolutely.
So I think that would probably be, maybe old Chapelle, maybe old, Seinfeld, but probably anything Mel Brooks like that.
What are some of the places that you performed here in Hollywood?
So I've done the Improv, I've done the Laugh Factory, I've done Dojo, Sycamore, and then just a bunch of dive bars around the area. I've done some North Hollywood places, but primarily my home club in terms of the big names is the Improv.
Right. How has COVID affected, obviously your comedy, but also your senior year? It was fucking destroyed. What was that like for you?
I mean, so you kind of were with me for a part of it too because of Sycamore. Right. I was there 4 nights a week. I already was in a weird spot where I wasn't necessarily having the typical senior year just because my job for 3 months I was working at a bar. Right. And by the way, I worked in terms of a high school job, I worked more hours than normal. Yeah. So it was, I would go to parties and things like that. But in terms of being ruined, it was I didn't get the prom. I didn't get the graduation. I didn't get, I was going to go to Europe with some friends. All that got canceled. And it's just one of those things where it's you look forward to having it end and you with all your friends. Right. And just all of a sudden someone pretty much said, all right, we're done. And it just wrapped up, and it just, everything got taken is a weird word because it didn't get taken from us, but it did get taken from us in the sense that everything we looked forward to just kind of didn't happen. Right. So it was, I wasn't looking forward to prom because that's not really who I am. But looking back, it's I was going to go and I was going to have a good time just because. Absolutely. And it's something you do.
It's, an American tradition. You go, you get a date, you get fucked up, you go to the dance, you come back, you party. Exactly. Who knows what happens that night. Exactly. But it's the memory. And then just the last couple of weeks in school is a fucking joke. You guys are goofing around with your friends. You're studying until those final tests. You don't care. I wore pajamas my whole senior year to school. It was great. Yeah, I really feel bad that you guys missed out on it because my nephew's your age. He just graduated as well, and it was. He won't really tell me how it was. He kind of was I don't really care, but
it's just weird, It's just
I think it's beyond weird. Weird is an understatement.
Yeah, it's just imagine something you were looking forward to for you work
forever.
I mean, this is how I look at it. I was working towards it for 12 years, and it just didn't happen. Right. It was like if you were working for a job. And, you were about to get the promotion and you knew you were getting the promotion and then you just got fired. Yeah. That's, I think, the best way I look at it.
Did you guys get to do any sort of walk after the fact?
So they did a thing where we drove in our cars for graduation and they handed us our diploma and then they took a video of all of us and made it a graduation video. Right. And it was pretty cool because at the beginning, Jamie Foxx and one of the actors from The Office kind of said, oh, congratulations. You're going through something tough, just work towards it, keep going. So it's pretty cool to see those two guys kind of be part of it, but nothing in terms of what it, would have been.
Right. So now you're headed to college. Mm-hmm. COVID's still around. Things are still fucked up. Yeah. Tell me about, because I'm sure things that you had planned are just already got fucked up. You had the setup to go to the dorms and everything, and it's just...
Yeah, so I was supposed to be in the dorms. I had a roommate. And it all got shut down. So now I'm going by myself. I have to quarantine for 2 weeks when I get to New York just because, LA's the hot spot. Right. So it's weird in the sense I'm also going now with, I don't know anybody. I know 5 kids just because of my classes, but I don't really know people to the fact that I could say, let's go hang out, as I think I would if I was in the dorms because I'd be seeing them every day.
Yeah.
So the only people I really know in New York are comics right now versus, kids and comics. And some of them are gone. They decided they wanted to leave and go home.
Right. No,
so it's
absolutely.
like, it's a really weird spot, but I mean, I think I'm going to learn. I think I'm going to become a different person.
It's going to change you for the better, obviously.
Yeah, whether it was COVID or not, I think I was going to change. And I think now with COVID, it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to learn to be a real person because I'm going to have to be cautious in a city that's notoriously mean and cruel. So I'm going to have to learn to be mean, but also cautious.
It's not so much mean or cruel. It's just very straightforward.
Right.
Like, there's no, it's fucking Monday. That's it.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not holding doors open for you. I got someplace to be. You got someplace to be.
Right.
Let's fucking do it and get out of here.
The best pieces of advice I've gotten about living in New York is keep your wallet and keys in your front pockets and then walk like you know where you're going.
Absolutely.
Don't stare.
Yeah.
If you lollygag or look away, you're done. Just walk. Even if you're going, to the park to look at the ducks, walk like you know where you're going. Walk like you're important.
That's really good advice.
Yeah.
Especially right now because the city's jacked up right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crime going on that just didn't used to be there. Yeah. Cops aren't out the way they used to be.
And rent's low, so that's nice.
Yeah. Where are you living in the city?
It's next to Gramercy Park.
Okay.
Yeah. For now, and then I'm going to move to Greenwich Village in January.
Where's your school? What school are you going to again?
It's called the New School.
Okay. Yeah.
Small liberal arts college. It's located in Greenwich Village. I have about a 15-minute walk away from it right now, and then hopefully it'll be about a 5-minute walk when I move into my real long-term apartment. So
you're not even living in dorms at all, or dorms not even open?
Dorms are open, but it's no one's allowed in, one person per suite. So it's it was a waste of money in my opinion because it was you're moving into a shitty living situation without the perks of what a dorm is in college.
Are you planning on working at one of the comedy clubs?
For now, no, just because I'm there short term. But I think the first few years before I get past, I want to, at the clubs, I want to work at one of them just so my name can start kind of getting recognized, maybe meet some people in terms of, bigger name comics and work my way kind of like I did here. But I think if I get a job, it would be at a comedy club, but I don't think I will for now because... So I'm doing a mini tour next year. Right. So I think I'll make some cash that way.
Tell me more about that.
So it's called the Ethan Howard Exterior Background Tour, based off of a joke I do about playing the exterior background in a school play, which is true. I played the grass. And, I'm doing colleges. I'm going to University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm going to University of Oklahoma, Bloomington, Indiana, FSU, and a few other schools.
When are you going to FSU?
I'm doing it, I think, April or May.
I will set you up with some stuff at FSU.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I need you. I'm going to call Bert. I'm going to try to get things. Yeah. So it's... I'm really excited because I'm taping a special that I'm fully funding myself in Madison. And it's just going to be a blast. I'm just going to have fun.
Are you headlining this? I'm assuming.
Yeah. I'm going to do 40 to 45, and then I'm bringing an opener. His name's Easton Gage, a really funny comic. He's probably going to do 25 to 30, and then I'll have, I'll do some contests while I'm there. Be like, are you funny? You want to open for me? And then, I'll bring some people out through that because, the guy who's doing 5 at the top texts 20 of his friends. Dude, I'm doing stand-up for a special taping, so I'll get people out there.
Where are you going to film at?
Some, 150 person theater in Madison, Wisconsin.
Why Madison, Wisconsin, of all places?
I know that I can fill the room there because I'm not a name, outside of, I'm not a name in LA, but I'm not a name outside of LA for sure. So it's, I have 4 friends in 4 different fraternities, and I know that they can come and they'll bring their friends and they'll be all blackout drunk, which makes it better to tape a special.
Right, I'm sure.
I hope Netflix doesn't hear that, but, so that's one of those things that I know I can fill a room out there, and I know that I can make college kids who are drunk laugh. So I think it's kind of the perfect combination. And it also gets me out of, Los Angeles or New York where it looks like, he just threw a camera out and taped a special. I want this to look like a legitimate special.
Who's coming up to film it for you?
I'm actually contacting their film department out there.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to have some guys get some hours or whatever.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah, and then I'm bringing a director who I've known for 7 years. He was a camp counselor of mine, he's a genius with the camera. I think he's up and coming. Hayden Rusk is his name. He's going to direct it, and it's going to be a really fun one.
Very cool. Was this your idea? Was this your manager's idea? How did this?
This was my idea because I wanted to get something on paper or on tape before I kind of entered adulthood. Even though I am now, I originally wanted to tape an hour when I was 16 and call it 16, just so even if it sucks in 10 years, if I am famous, I can look back and be like, well, this is what I had 10 years ago, So, and now I actually think I'm not bad at comedy. So, I'm still bad, but I'm not as bad as I was.
I don't think you're bad at all. I think that,
thank you.
And again, seeing what you've been up against at Sycamore and some of these other places, I think you're definitely above a lot of those individuals.
Thank you.
But like, I look at my buddy Mike started a while back, and in the beginning he wasn't that great.
Right.
And now he's doing phenomenal. And I've watched him in Florida, I've watched him in New York, and I've watched him here.
Yeah, you watched him really grow.
Yeah,
you didn't catch on. You were with him from the start.
I saw his entire set come together. I saw him grow as just being better on stage, and you're going to get there too. And you're probably a little bit ahead of where he was when he started.
Yeah.
But he had come, almost straight out of Florida State. I think he had like a year or two maybe home, and then he decided to up and leave and come out here. But you're doing all the right things, and that's why I'm excited for you. I understand it because I went through it myself.
Right.
So like I'm having minimal success out here when people aren't having anything, and I'm like, all right, well, if I had done this a little earlier, where would I be?
Right.
And
by
you're
the way,
that person doing it, now.
Yeah. Any success in LA means that you're like good at what you're doing.
I know.
Because there's 70,000 people doing the same thing as us. So it's like whether it's a podcast or comedy or acting. If you're an actor, even if you book, background of Geico commercial, you got a job. It's
right.
like, you beat out 40,000 people. So it's like, there's something to it where I think if you can do it in LA, you can make it in most places.
Absolutely. And especially I think the SAG statistic is like less than 1% of all the actors out here are actually working. It's insane.
Tough. Yeah.
And then you got people, so the way I look at it is like, let's say there's 1 million people out here. Mm-hmm. Half of them shouldn't be here.
Oh yeah.
There's these people that just need friends to tell them, hey, maybe this is
maybe you should sell houses again.
Yeah, like stuff like that really needs they need these conversations. And I don't want to shit on anyone's dreams.
Right.
Like who am I to do that? But like what these people are doing is they're clogging up the audition process. So now the audition, the casting director has to see 40 or 50 people that shouldn't be in that room. They're just not ready to be in that room.
Right.
And then when they finally do come across someone that has any sort of talent, they're like, you're done. We're going to choose you. And then everyone else who really has the talent that can really take that role or those lines to the next level aren't getting seen.
It's like if you were doing stand-up and the first 5 guys sucked, and then the 6th guy was like, had a few ringers, but like then the 7th guy was Bill Burr. It's like the 6th guy would look like Bill Burr because it just, the levels of it. So it's like, it's annoying on one hand, but also it means you just got to keep going and you got to be persistent. I think if you have the drive, even if you're not as talented as the next guy, if you work harder than him, you'll get the job.
Right. What are some of the trials and tribulations that you've gone through at this age in the last couple of years in comedy?
Well, it's really interesting because I got taken advantage of money-wise when I was 16 producing my own show at a club. I'm not going to name it, but, we made a deal and it got like kind of fucked through. Can I curse on here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't know. People always say
Where
that.
do you think you are?
I know, right? No, so I got screwed out of money as a 16-year-old producing my own show, and that definitely put some more like fire under me because I was like, well, I'm going to show him that I can actually do this. And I think that was actually a big turning point in my stand-up where I went from doing, oh, I'm 16, look at these, shitty jokes, haha, to actually sitting down and being like, all right, let's write a fucking joke, and let's make this shit good so that I can go back in the room and, just destroy. And you'd be like, who the fuck is this kid? You'd be like, I'm the kid that you fucked over with money, There's a little bit of anger there, but I mean...
Was this a Hollywood club or a NoHo club?
This was a club out in NoHo. Yeah. I don't go there anymore, but I don't want to name it.
I think I know what it is.
You do.
Obviously, you have some connections in the industry. Mm-hmm. Who are some of the people that have been, obviously not quite mentors, but someone that's really held your hand and helped you out and given you the best advice?
There's been a few. I mean, there's a guy named Royale Watkins. I don't know if you ever watched Def Jam in the 90s.
Yeah.
Royale's the guy that got me into stand-up. And I think that was really interesting where it was like, the first guy that helped me in stand-up was a dude who is like known and is like known to be good at this. So I think that helped a lot. I mean, a lot of my connections I've formed on my own. A big one is a guy named John Campanelli, who I think is...
Oh, Campanelli, yeah.
I think he's one of the funniest guys in Los Angeles.
Did he used to open up for Dane?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, there's a long... That's, you know, that it's interesting because he's done so many great things and he helps me out a lot. He helps a lot of comics out, which is so great. And he kind of... You know, he hasn't necessarily made it yet, but he is, I think he will. You know, but he's one of those guys that really helped me. He helped me get in the room with some guys. Brent Morin's another guy who, I was 16. I did the Laugh Factory for the first time. I did fine. He pulled me off after, and he was like, listen, just, you got it. He's like, you have the talent. Just keep driving, keep going. And that's one of those things where those guys, you know, when I was younger, if you had a blue check mark next to your name, you meant a lot to me.
Right.
So it was like, it was really cool to hear someone who is like, you know, more or less famous be like, no, you're good. Just keep doing it.
Tell me more about that. Like, what was the feeling that went through you when you heard someone that you're looking up to or someone that you like are a fan of, them telling you like, hey, you're good at what you're doing?
I was shitting my pants actually because I was told as a 16-year-old I couldn't be on the floor because alcohol was being served, so I had to sit upstairs where no one was.
Right.
And I went second on the lineup. And then afterwards, after I got off stage, I was walking back up and this guy pulled on my arm and it was Brent. And he's like, come sit down. And I sat at the comics table, which was like, you know, for an upcoming comic to sit at the comics table is pretty cool. And it was me, Brent, somebody else, I think Esther Pavitsky, and then Andrew Santino, right before Santino popped hard. So it was like, I was sitting at a table of comics who you hadn't heard of yet, but now you know who they are.
Right.
And it was like, I knew who they were because it was like I was learning about all these guys. So to hear it from Brent and then kind of get to talk to Santino initially, it was like, it was really exciting for me.
At your stage right now, would you say that you've been able to kind of, you know, be in a freshman class, so to speak, or is it you're kind of still outside? I
think you got to be part of like the store right now to be part of the freshman class. I think that I know guys who are part of it, but I think we're also young enough that there isn't a current freshman class I'm part of.
Right.
I think we have guys. I think Will Burkhart's one of them that I think is going to pop hard. I think, you know, 21 to like 27-year-olds right now, that class is like 8th graders, I think. And they're about to become the class. So I don't know about New York because I haven't really been there yet, but I think I'll be part of both, which is weird because I'll be home for the holidays here and in New York during the year. So it's like, hopefully I'm able to kind of join the classes. And as I turn 19, 20, 21 and get better and better at comedy, I think I'll be able to figure out who the next kind of incoming wave of the young comics are.
Can we talk about when you had the video chat with Chapelle? Or
yeah,
is that something that you have to keep quiet about?
No, I don't have to keep quiet about it, but you know, we can talk about it. Let's do it.
Yeah, tell me the whole thing. How it happened, what he
said.
said.
I've been in film classes the last 7 years. I had a teacher for the first 3 and then a new one for the next 4, just in my high school. And I got a text from my 6th, 7th, 8th grade middle school teacher saying, I have a meeting set up with like 20 kids. It's exclusive. I can't tell you who the guest is. I just know that you need to be there. And I was like, okay, it's probably, you know, some writer or some comic who, you know, maybe I've heard of, maybe I haven't, but it's a comedian, so I should go. I log on, I'm looking around the Zoom, and you know how Zoom, it's like 16 squares of people, and like you have to look around to find people. All of a sudden, I just hear a voice, and I'm just like, that's Dave Chappelle's voice. And I'm looking around for the highlighted box, and I see this guy, and it says Elaine Chappelle, which is his wife.
Right.
I don't know if I can say that or not. I don't know if that's public, but it just goes, you know, all of a sudden it's just like, hey there. And I was like, that's Dave Chappelle. And my anxiety kicked in. My leg just started going, and I just started shaking. And it was so cool just to be like, I'm literally like, I could just say hi, and he hears me.
Out of all the kids that were in this Zoom call, were you the only comedian?
Yeah. It was about 16 kids. 14 of them were like former students. There was me, who's the comic, who was a former student. And then another one who is like, she was on Pretty Little Liars for 6 years. Okay. So it was like, she's really successful. Me, who's like successful in the world of comedy as a kid. And then everybody else. So my teacher goes, Dave, I want you to meet Ethan. And he's like, who? And I go, hi, I'm Ethan Howard. And I used the name Royale Watkins just because he was Dave's mentor growing up.
Right.
And it was one of those moments where it was like, you don't know if you're going to connect with the guy initially. And as soon as he heard that name, he was like, no way, you know Royale? And I was like, he's my guy. And he's like, I love her. And we had a legit conversation, which was like the coolest thing ever for me because it's Dave Chapelle.
What did he impart any knowledge or wisdom to you guys that just really stuck with you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of, just keep going type of stuff. He told me about the fishbowl and how he writes. Mm-hmm. And that was something, he did say that he doesn't want that getting out, but I can just say that what he said was very you don't hear it from comedians, what he said. It's like, I got Dave Chappelle's style of writing, like how he writes in a lesson. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can tell you off camera, but not.
Oh, please fucking tell me.
I will. By the way, I've always wanted to say that on a podcast. Be like, we'll talk off screen. It's that, and then do you listen to a lot of comics podcasts?
Yeah.
They'll do this thing where they'll start talking about a comedian but won't say his name. And they'll be like, he's from Connecticut. He's like, yeah. He goes, is he a drinker? Yeah. Does he have blonde hair? And I am like, I know who he is.
Are you talking about Two Bears, One Cave? They do it all the time.
They do it all the time. And I've always wanted to be a part of that on them where I know who they're talking about. And, I just find
we can do it right now.
Yeah, right?
The guy from Chicago?
Oh, yeah.
Washes his hands?
Yeah, yeah, right? So, I mean, that's just so fun to me, those types of things where it's like, I love being a comic because the jokes are awesome. Making people laugh is the greatest thing in the world, but the hangouts are honestly the best part. And you've been a part of them, working at Sycamore. The hangouts are the best part of being a comic. The most fun. Oh, yeah.
The absolute most fun.
Where you just talk shit and drink. Well, I don't drink most of the time.
No, you're under 21. You don't drink at all.
No. One of my IDs says
I've never given you a shot before.
No. Definitely not on the Super Bowl. No, but it's one of those things where I think hanging out with comedians is the funniest and most fun thing I will ever be a part of.
My buddy Mike that was one of his biggest complaints about COVID. He's like, I miss the hang.
Oh, yeah.
Because they shut down Swingers. I know they used to go to Swingers a lot. And there's all these places that just, you can't do it anymore. Because you're really only up there for maybe 5-10 minutes. Yeah. But you're out there for 3 hours and you're just fucking around with everyone.
Well, I did a parking lot show. I did my first set in 6 months last Wednesday.
How'd that go?
It was honestly, it came back to me. And it was all new material and it went really well, which I'm really glad because I thought I wasn't going to be funny anymore. And, which is just a weird, social tick that a thing in my head. Right. But, oh, sorry.
It's okay.
It was one of those things where I did 8 minutes and I did well, but as soon as I walked in, I saw a comic that I know, and he just looks at me. He goes, "You put on 10 pounds?" And I was like, that is the funniest thing anybody can say. Just looking at me, walking in, just looks at me and goes, "You gained weight, bro."
So fucked up.
Yeah, but it's like that's what I miss. I missed, and being the kid, being the young guy, I got shit on by everybody, no matter who. So it was like I missed that,
Tell me about mom and dad in this whole journey. Are they, because I'm sure they're supportive because, mom and dad, but there's got to be some sort of apprehension with them in terms of what you're doing, how you're going about doing it and doing it this young.
So my dad is in the industry, my mom was, they both support me fully on this, and they think that they both have told me that as people speaking to me and not my parents, they think I have the ability to do it, whether it be as a comic or a writer or an actor or an improviser or anything. And I think that helps a lot because it's not, they take care of certain things that I need to be taken care of. But my dad, when I was 14 and told him I want to do this, said, okay, but you're doing this all on your own. Because he had the connections, but he didn't let me use them because I wasn't, experienced enough yet. But so I pretty much did everything on my own with their full support. If I needed them at a show because I needed 2 people to get 10 minutes, they were there. So it's like that was something that was really nice. They also divorced right when I started doing stand-up. So it was like one of those things where even though I was 14, I had an opinion on something already, and I already could talk about something that was, actually had meaning to it. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just discovering I can use my dick. It was like, no, my parents don't love each other anymore.
Right, yeah. That must be rough. How old were you when this happened?
I was 14, which is funny because I found out, and I'm making this a joke, but I found out they separated. They, swear to God, they legally divorced the day after I turned 18. which made me go like, oh, you guys just didn't want to have responsibility of me, which is like, it's obviously not true, but also it is true.
Right.
So it's just one of those things that it's like, that's so funny to me because I didn't know they separated. I always thought they had divorced. And then they were like, no, we divorced January 4th, 2020. I was like, oh, the day after I became not your responsibility. They're like,
hilarious.
exactly.
So that you, I mean, it was just on paper they did it.
Yeah. You know, they lived in 2 houses. They live half a mile away from each other also, which is like kind of strange, but also kind of great. I wrote a TV show.
On your end, that's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, because, you know, if I forget something, it's not like, oh, I got to go to Dad's house. It's like, oh, I literally drive for a minute and I'm there. So that's really nice.
What are the feelings on you going to New York?
I think they're worried because of COVID, because I tend to not be super productive in terms of like, I don't like cleaning my room. I do things if I want to do them, not if I have to, which is an issue. I think
that'll change.
Yeah, I think that'll learn. I think that's just something with college too that you learn. I think they're in full support. I think they want me to be safe right now. They don't want me, you know, taking subways and driving an hour to go do a show in Jersey. I might do that without them knowing at that point, but it's just they're fully into it now, you know. I have a backup plan that actually involves stand-up, so that's the kind of, like, my backup plan is being a personal appearance agent.
Okay.
So the good news is, if I decide I don't want to do stand-up and I become an agent, I already have all the contacts because I'm in the clubs every night.
That's solid.
Yeah.
Solid way to look at everything.
Yeah.
39 minutes.
Oh, dang, already, man?
Real quick.
That's weird. I always have guests on my podcast. I'm like, that's 2 hours. And they're like, 2 hours already? And that just happened to me. It was like, whoa.
When Trevor had the first podcast with me before everything got fucked up, I think we were like an hour and a half and the batteries all died.
Yeah.
Like this camera over here, I had to get hardwired. This one's on a battery. Who knows if that's going to fucking die out or if it already died out.
Yeah.
We'll see when I look at all the footage. What else you want to rap about?
I don't know, man. How have you been?
I've been doing great.
That's good. I mean, this thing, I love watching your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much.
The high movies. I forgot what the segment is called. High movies.
High
right?
movies.
Yeah. I love the interviews, you know.
Thank
Trevor's interview was great.
Trevor's was phenomenal.
Just knowing him, you know, he's a big goofball. So it's like...
And then to hear him talk about something serious like that.
Yeah, you know, it's not every day he really opens up.
I got to be honest. This was I want to be careful with the words that I use. Because it's a labor of love, but this has also been a fucking giant pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
So like I said...
Well, we've texted about it, man. You're like, you texted me, it was like 2 a.m. You're like, what the fuck happened? Yeah. So like a year ago, I was like, oh, I think I'm going to do a podcast. And then it was like, well, how am I going to go about doing this? And then it's like, well, what do I want it to look like? What are the topics? And then it's, you know, getting all the equipment, learning how to use the equipment, then going to film school, and then finishing up film school and getting the understanding of the audio and all the programs. And, was that the reason you went to film school? Was to do the podcast?
No.
That's what I thought.
I went to film school because I did a short film. And action, like it was something me and my girlfriend were fucking around doing, and I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, let's do it to the best of my ability, and let me make a short film. And things went really good, but there were some problems with the hard drives. I lost a lot of footage, but there was also some things that I couldn't properly communicate and express the ideas that I had in my head.
Right.
I didn't know how to verbally express to the people within the industry. They'd be like, hey, I want this lens and for it to look like this.
Right.
And
just the technical stuff. The technical
aspect,
words.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff where I don't want to have to rely on other people to do it. I just want to be able to do it myself until I get to a point where I can, you know,
you have trust in
somebody
people.
else.
You can have a pick. You can pick from people that you're not just like on Craigslist going, I need a, you know, sound design. You can have a list of 50 people. And
I've got a lot of friends that know how to do everything, but it's also like, you know, I don't have the thousands of dollars to put into these small.
It's on a budget at this point.
Like, who's going to help out? Who's going to do it for free or credit or food or, you know, this whole thing has just been a fucking process. But that's the reason why I went to film school, was to kind of up my game, but also make myself more valuable. Because at some point, I'm not going to be able to land on my head anymore, and I'm not going to be able to do stunts the way I do now. So it's, you know, if you want to stay in the industry, what am I going to be doing? Whether it's, you know, voiceover, action acting, or maybe possibly doing stuff behind the camera.
Right.
And this project, this, you know, exploration of absurd reality has allowed me to really cut my teeth and learn every aspect, because I'm directing, producing, writing, sound, camera, editing. I'm literally doing everything. It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love it. If COVID wasn't going on right now, I probably wouldn't have been able to get everything done. But the flip side to that is like, it's COVID. Not everyone wants to come and sit down on my couch because they're worried about getting sick or they're worried about this and that. And it's been a hassle. It's been a real
so
hassle.
Interesting with COVID because I don't know if you feel this way. But like, obviously, I wear the mask and I do my stuff. As soon as I get with someone that if I was with my buddy before we went to school, like, if we were hanging out, my mask would be off and I'd just be like, oh, it's just like normal times. Like, COVID would completely get out of my head. And I'd be like, I don't remember, like, and then I'd, get in my car and I'd be like, oh shit, we're back in, COVID. And it was like, I've had to train my brain to not do that now. But it was one of those things where it was like, this is so weird that, it's like you can't give someone a high five anymore. And,
No.
If you're walking down the street and someone sneezes, it's, like someone's holding a gun to your head.
Dude, I have like,
oh no.
From living out here, I have allergies now from the Santa Ana winds and all that shit. So I have like a nasal drip almost.
Yeah.
Constantly coughing.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
Now that this has happened with COVID, I feel like every time I cough, even if it's like a little just clearing my throat, a little, everyone's looking at me. I feel awkward. I hate doing it in an Uber because like,
oh, the worst.
Yeah, like I'm right behind the guy. All he hears is that noise, and he's thinking this guy's gonna get me sick.
Well, that's like I had my family over, social distance, because I'm leaving. They wanted to say bye. The morning of, I woke up and the first thing I did was I had a runny nose, and I was like that, and I was like, oh no, like it's over. Everybody's gonna get sick. And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, it's because the fires are so bad.
Right.
It was one of those things where I'm just like. But anything, if I have a headache, I'm like, oh no, it's 2 weeks in the clinker. So it's like, I don't even know anymore. Everything is so cautious at this point. Everybody's so scared of everybody. I literally heard someone say, I'll sneeze on you for that. Like, I'll take that. I'll sneeze on you as a threat. And I was like, who said that? And then it's just what it is now,
Yeah.
A cough is a gun at this point.
It really is. I mean, I think that's obviously extreme. But it's not.
Yeah.
There's that chicken in North Hollywood. She was at I want to say Trader Joe's. She coughed on someone.
Oh yeah.
And they charged her with assault.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking wild.
It's scary. I mean, now the good thing is we're figuring more things out, and I think we're kind of coming to an understanding. But April, beginning of March, it was like I didn't leave my house for 2.5 months. I was so scared of everything.
And we were getting conflicting information, and then it was.
I also went through a COVID scare in June, which was like ridiculously scary.
We thought we had it. Katie's, when she was managing the yoga studio.
Oh, right.
2 or 3 of the teachers had it. And or either they had it or their roommate or someone had it. So like they were worried about being quarantined. And like I was like, well, you're fucking there all the time. I might have it. Did I give it to anyone at Sycamore?
Oh, yeah. Well, so what happened to me was I went over to my friend's house. So then the next day, it was me, my buddy, and we were at her house, and then her parents had 2 friends over. We got a call from the friends. They have COVID.
No shit.
I didn't hear from the family for 18 hours.
When was this? Like right in the beginning?
This was in June.
Wow.
So I hung out with her 3 days in a row, and it was like, she didn't tell me. She let people come over while knowing that they got tested because their doctor told them to. They didn't know if they had it at that point. But I think if your doctor says take a test, shut it down. Right. And it was like, I talked to her still a little bit, but I'm like, it's one of those things where it's like, what are you doing,
What are your plans if, flu season comes around, there's a giant spike or an uptick in COVID cases, and there's another, possible stay-at-home order in New York? Are you going to stay in New York or are you going to come back home?
I think depending on where it is, I might just end up driving home. I might rent a car and just, because I can't get on a plane type of situation.
You cannot rent a car.
Oh, yeah, you have to be 25, huh?
Yeah.
So then maybe I'll find someone that I know that lives in New York that is like, wants to get out of there, or someone that is in New York that lives in LA. Right. So, I mean, it's one of those things where we'll obviously have to see what happens we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I haven't really thought about that. So hopefully we don't, but
let's hope not, man.
But I'm getting my flu shot tomorrow just because I think it's the smartest thing to do.
Are they making you get tested before you get on the flight?
No, but they said don't travel if you don't feel well, which is like, people probably will lie about it.
Absolutely.
But I'm double masking, face shield, gloves, hand sanitizer. I'm going to look like Howie Mandel,
Well,
so.
For those of you who don't know, Howie Mandel has like a severe OCD. Germaphobe, crazy nonsense when it comes to meeting people. He won't shake hands. He won't hug.
It's a fist bump.
Yeah, if that. I think he's doing elbows now.
Yeah, probably just because of this. But I actually saw him during COVID too, there was a car accident that I saw, and he was out filming with his phone, and I was like, "You're doing that, Howie?" I was like, of all people, I feel like you shouldn't be. But it was one of those things where it was so. It's just I don't know what's happening. No one knows what's happening because tomorrow we could wake up, COVID could somehow be gone. We could wake up tomorrow, the whole world could be, everybody could have COVID. Nobody knows what's going to happen, and that's what makes it. It's so absurd.
Scary times, man. It's very absurd.
Right?
We're living in scary times right now.
Yeah.
We're going to have to wrap this up because I don't know how much battery's on this camera.
For sure.
But in case your career skyrockets and you happen to look back at this podcast.
Yes.
And obviously we'd stay friends, but
yeah.
What is there anything?
If I get big, I'm blocking you. I'm getting rid of everybody. Only person I'm keeping is George.
Bullshit. Is there anything you'd want to say to yourself that you'd like to,
That's a really good question, man. I mean, if I'm looking at this and I'm like wildly successful,
but even moderately successful,
just don't let it get to me. Don't let it get to me, Ethan. It's one of those things where I think I've seen people's careers be destroyed because it gets to their head, They book a commercial and they buy a Rolex. It's like,
right.
I think it's one of those things where I need to, if I can stay humble and stay relatable and as long as I'm making people laugh and being nice to the people off stage, whether it's a comic or a fan or anybody, I think that's the key to my success, is being a good person and, capitalizing on opportunities when I have the opportunity to, and just being a good person while being funny.
I think that's incredibly well said. Listen, I have all the faith in you. I wish you all the best. If I didn't think that you had something worth moving forward on, I wouldn't have asked you to come be on the show. That's the dead honest truth. Because, like who the fuck am I? But who the fuck, am I?
Who the fuck am I also, by the way,
But like the thing for me is like you want to have people on your show that's, credible and, what's the word I'm looking for?
Just fucking awesome.
Like they specialize in something to talk about. And I didn't feel that way when it came to you. I was like, this kid has something that could potentially go somewhere.
Thank you.
And I want to give you all the love and support that I possibly can. And, fingers crossed for a minute.
Thank you. And same with you, man. This thing is awesome. I really hope people, not necessarily this episode, just the podcast in general, I think it's one of those things that you're doing so much with it and you're working so hard that you're putting in the time. It'll, if you put in something, it'll get
I'm hoping, man, between this stuff, all those movies, and if I let you bother me enough, I'll go on stage.
You right? Man, hey, man, I'm sure you'll come out to New York or Florida. If I'm there, I'll meet you in Florida. We'll gig sometime.
Well, I'll be in New York probably every holiday season.
You have family out there, right?
Yeah.
But like in Buffalo?
No.
In the city?
Buffalo. Get the fuck out of here.
All right.
No, we're all from Long Island.
Oh, dope. So yeah, I'll be out there most holidays. So if I'm doing a show, I'm getting your ass on. I'm getting your ass on stage.
No.
I'll tell whoever the booker is, saying, "Fuck me, this guy's going up."
Absolutely not.
He's gonna do a story about hand drying and Italians. And
I'll do Trevor's whole set. I'll do Trevor's whole set.
Right? You'll get passed
for sure.
Oh yeah. I hope he doesn't listen to this.
No, fucking let him listen to this. Right. Do you remember when we were gonna do?
Set?
You, me, you, Chris.
We were all gonna go up and do his set back to back to back, and then let him close it out. How funny would that have been? I
still wish we could have done that.
Oh my god! If the club was open, I'd be like, "Fuck it, let's go and do it right now."
The fact that we even closed up is just a shit show.
We closed. We reopened for a week. We closed again. Yeah, because remember the...
we had rats.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know if I can say that.
Fuck it, we're closed.
That's
I don't give a
true.
Fuck Mike. Fuck everyone.
Well,
fuck that place. I wasn't there long term anyway.
If they have a place in New York, I'd love to work for you, Mike.
They don't have a place in New York.
Oh, well,
they fucking suck.
I'm not. All right. Well, it's one of those things where it was a really good 3 months I had. I loved working there. The friends I made are gonna last a lifetime.
And Austin too. I love Austin.
Dude, Austin's good. Austin's fucking hilarious. He's one of those guys that. There's a few people that I know that sorry, I know we're going long here.
No, it's okay.
There's a few people I know that if I make it, I know that I want them to be my openers, which sounds like a cocky thing, but it's one of those things where I just know I have the guys that if I make it tomorrow on TikTok or something and I can sell out a theater or a club, I know I have 5 numbers in my phone that I can bring and have a legit opener and make me go, oh fuck, I don't know if I can follow that guy.
Right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's it for this podcast. We are out. Ethan, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joe. Have a good time.
That's it, guys.